Sheryl Swoopes, former WNBA player, we all know that, current host of Queen of the Court podcast. She had some thoughts. She's had some thoughts previously about Caitlin being a little bit inflammatory and critical without any actual analysis. She shoots like 60 shots a game.
Picture this. You're Elle Duncan, sitting in the ESPN studio, about to go on air. You think you're about to smooth things over, but instead, you're about to ignite a firestorm. The topic? Caitlin Clark. The result? A PR nightmare that's rocking the sports world. Here's how it all went down. As if things couldn't get hotter, Elle Duncan reveals something shocking. She's seeing parallels between Caitlin Clark and one of literature's most notorious villains. For what reason would a well-respected sportscaster make such a daring assertion? This is where ESPN's fiery Elle Duncan comes in with a perspective that's sure to cause a stir. In her podcast, Duncan takes a non-traditional approach to addressing the Swoopes-Clark debate. To begin, Duncan says what everyone already knows. Talking about Caitlin Clark is a real minefield for sportscasters. It would be unfair to dismiss all criticism directed on Clark as hate speech, she argues. It's a sophisticated view that will upset some people. But now things start to get crazy. Everyone is going to be talking after Duncan makes a comparison. Bringing up Caitlin Clark is like bringing up Voldemort from Harry Potter, in her opinion. You read it correctly, folks. She's drawing parallels between the Dark Lord and one of the most promising young basketball players. Get your pitchforks ready, because I'm about to explain what Duncan means. She doesn't accuse Clark of being wicked or threaten to wipe away the wizarding realm. To show how Clark has become a lightning rod subject in sports media, Duncan is utilizing this example instead. Duncan claims that bringing up Clark's name is like releasing a magic spell that causes a chain reaction. Anyone who flatters her will accuse you of being too clingy. She will label you a hater if you criticize her. This circumstance is making it impossible to have open and honest conversations since everyone is losing. Duncan is trying to drive home how ridiculous the situation is by drawing an inflated comparison to Voldemort. She's making a point about how a young player's meteoric rise to fame has unintentionally made her the object of intense scrutiny and debate in the media. But that's not all Duncan does. In this Clark-centric landscape, she delves more into the issues faced by sports commentators. Because of the chilling impact of potential retaliation, commentators are extremely cautious anytime Clark's name is mentioned. However, this is about more than just Clark. The comments made by Duncan bring attention to a larger problem among the sports media. Without getting into blind adoration or personal attacks, how can we encourage real critical conversations about athletes? As soon as Duncan defended Swoopes, a floodgate was opened. All of a sudden, it was about more than just one commenter or player. All of the sports media was being watched. When a disagreement escalated into a full-scale conflict, what did Duncan say? The purpose of Elle Duncan's podcast was to provide background information and nuances on the Swoopes-Clark case. The opposite happened, and now there's a social media and sports forum firestorm. Every remark is being scrutinized by fans and commentators as they seek to decipher if Duncan's explanation is credible or merely an effort to minimize criticism of a budding star. Listen up. Duncan's grand blunder in trying to comprehend the intricacies of covering Caitlin Clark has been absolutely disastrous. Many of Swoopes' admirers took her comments as a justification for how she always seemed downcast. The entire sports world is now engulfed in controversy because she attempted to extinguish a fire by adding gasoline. If you are extremely positive about Caitlin Clark, there is a segment of the population that believes you are being forced to say it, Duncan explained. Someone who criticizes is considered a hater. The paradox that commentators encounter when discussing Clark was her intention. However, this appeared to many listeners as providing an excuse for Swoopes' inflammatory remarks. The reaction was strong and quick. Reactions on social media were all over the map, with some praising Duncan's nuanced perspective and others accusing her of fostering a young athlete's pessimism. With every retweet and share, Duncan's comments get distorted and misunderstood, as if the sports world were engaged in a massive game of telephone. But now it's about more than just Duncan, Swoopes, or Clark. The larger problems that the sports media face now have been brought to light by this scandal. Without coming out as prejudiced or overly favoritistic, how can one cover a rising talent such as Clark? It's a fine line that not even the most seasoned commentators can travel. Before we move on, I'd like to ask you a small favor. If you appreciate this content, please take a second to like this video and subscribe to the channel. Over 98% of you watch the videos without subscribing. It costs you nothing, but it makes a huge difference to us. So, did you click the subscribe button? Great, thank you so much. Now, back to the video. As the most well-known sports media outlet, ESPN is under scrutiny from every angle. There's a tension between wanting to highlight up-and-coming talent and being true to their profession as journalists. This delicate balancing effort is become more challenging in this day of instantaneous responses and social media. When it comes to discussing athletes, particularly female athletes in more traditionally male-dominated sports, the Clark scenario has become a yardstick. Every single piece of feedback, whether positive or negative, is carefully examined. It's making it hard to have a conversation that's both honest and nuanced. Astonishingly, Duncan has come clean regarding the massive amount of interaction with content pertaining to Clark. There were more than 700 comments on just one episode about Clark running for MVP. I'd call that fixation rather than participation. It exemplifies the fervor and division among fans about this subject. There are pros and cons to this degree of participation for sports media. The ratings and clicks are fantastic on the one hand. As an opposing view, it fosters an environment where any mention of Clark could spark a heated debate. In the midst of all the talk about Clark, an old topic has been gathering dust. Why is it that talking about women's basketball seems like navigating a minefield? It has nothing to do with statistics or jump shots, and the answer might shock you. An individual player or comment has sparked this Caitlin Clark controversy. It's illuminating the whole women's basketball scene. How did we end up here? Is a natural question to ask. What gave rise to all this controversy with only one rookie? The problem is that several long-standing problems in women's sports have been brought to light by Clark's meteoric climb to popularity. We all need to examine our language when discussing female athletes, now that she's become a walking, talking magnifying glass. Contemplate it. How long has it been since a female basketball player had such widespread media coverage? Clark is changing the way women's sports are covered. In addition to setting records on the court, everything mentioned about Clark is scrutinized since everyone is looking at her. What Elle Duncan stated about Clark being a lightning rod in the WNBA is absolutely true. The very mention of Clark's name seems to cast a spell that calls for heated debates. Showing her favoritism is pandering. Anyone who criticizes her is a hater. Nobody can find a happy medium. Oh, hold on a second. This is just the beginning. The remarks made by Duncan expose a more serious issue. According to her, at the top of a pyramid, you're exposed from all angles. Clark isn't the only one involved. The story revolves around the immense strain that female sportsmen and pundits endure in a predominantly male-dominated industry. I know what you're thinking. Why doesn't everyone just stop bringing up Clark? Some people, though, are actually doing it. Duncan brought out the fact that some people are opting not to participate in any way with Clark-related conversations. Is that, however, the true answer, or is it merely avoiding the issue altogether? For a moment, let's take a step back. This entire incident is shedding light on the portrayal of female athletes in the sports media. They seem to be balancing precariously. The world of social media can come crashing down with the slightest misstep or poorly worded remark. Keep in mind that Duncan once declared, "This is not your typical debate." That's correct. Nothing we've ever encountered has prepared us for the Clark predicament. It's making us reconsider our language when discussing women's sports. Is it time to have that talk? Things start to get intriguing at this point. More people are paying attention to the WNBA now that Clark is the main storyline. What price, though? Are we unable to enjoy her game because we are preoccupied with debating over her characterization? The difficulties that women encounter in athletics are mirrored in this dispute. These days, it's about more than just playing well. Athletes who are women face the double-edged sword of public opinion, which may pervert any word they say and analyze any move they do. For more Hoops videos that cover the latest and greatest stories, click that subscribe button so you stay in the game. If Caitlin Clark can hit a logo 3, surely you can click a button to show your appreciation for all the hard work that went into making this video. It's free! So what are you waiting for? Subscribe and see you in the next one.